طيب. طيب. Okay, sounds good. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. It's been a while. Everyone is doing well, inshallah ta'ala. Hopefully, first and foremost, everyone is doing well spiritually, and of course, mentally, and inshallah, physically. It's been a long stretch of trips, let alone our other obligations at other masajid in Philadelphia and outside of Philadelphia. Alhamdulillah, we successfully went to California, had many beneficial sittings out there, then to our buddies in Toronto, and then to our brothers and sisters in Al-Islam in the United Kingdom, in London, Leicester, Manchester, Birmingham, and many other cities and towns which we visited by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was a great trip, alhamdulillah, and it's good to be back here to see you brothers. With that being said, based off of a few requests, and the irony of it is that those who requested this are not present. However, the rest of the people benefit from it with regards to a biography and a brief look into the life of Nawawi, rahimahullah ta'ala, the author of the 40 hadiths. The author of the 40 hadiths, looking into his life and what do we get from his life, what can we learn from his life, what better value and appreciation can we have for his book when we know something about the author. And we're going to get into that inshallah shortly. But I want to make two brief announcements. One, I want to brag a little bit, inshallah. I want to brag, show you guys, alhamdulillah, something that I got, alhamdulillah. And secondly, an announcement which hopefully will be a benefit for each and every one of you. First and foremost is a very good friend of mine, alhamdulillah, disciple. He sent me back a gift with other disciples who want to make umrah from Medina, a book called Al-Qawl Al-Tam Fi Fadl Al-Rami Bis-Siham. This here is a book, regardless of the graphics on the cover, pertaining to archery and the superiority and the excellence of archery, of learning it, practicing it, teaching it, and the virtue of the archers, okay? And we know many virtues and many lessons can be taken from archery. First and foremost is implementing the Quran Kareem, the tafsir of the Quran, those ayat that tell us about preparation and what the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam said, interpretation of that ayah. That's all we're going to say right now on the live stream. Let alone the daily lessons that a person can take from archery, such as self-discipline, such as precision, such as patience, such as humility, and countless lessons that come from archery. So that's something which is generally agreed upon by everyone, Muslim and non-Muslim alike. But the virtue of archery and its importance in our deen, for those reasons that I previously pointed towards, let alone the other fawaid, is something that wasn't hidden to the Muslim scholars of the past. They knew the importance of archery, the obligation of it on one level or another, and its fawaid as well. And the author of this book was one of the pupils of Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar. It says, Ta'lif al-Imam al-Hafidh al-Allama Shams al-Din Muhammad ibn Abdurrahman al-Sakhawi. Al-Hafidh al-Sakhawi, as we say in short, who died in the year 902 of the Hijrah. So he died in the beginning of the 10th century of the Islamic calendar, and he wrote a book on archery. So this is a book that I just got. I'm very happy, alhamdulillah. And as I said to you before, I'm what? Bragging about it. But in a good way, of course. Not out of pride and arrogance, but thanking Allah and also passing on the benefits to you. And of course, you can't be a believer until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. And this is one of the main reasons, not the only reason, but it's one of the reasons why we try to share different books with the brothers and sisters on the live streams, the book reviews. Not only is it a benefit for you, but it's something that we like and we enjoy ourselves. And I want the fun to be what? Spread to each and every one of you, inshallah ta'ala. Some years back when I was in Medina, I had another book about archery. I believe Al-Hafidh al-Tabarani, rahimahullah ta'ala. He has a juz fi fadl al-rami. Okay, and that was known, but I never knew that this existed. Alhamdulillah, and it was a gift. Of course, it was free. I didn't have to pay for it. That's even better, huh? Khairan, inshallah. Perhaps one day, maybe we'll read some fawaid from it. Maybe we'll open it up and perhaps and give you some benefits from the book. Fadl, Sheikh.
Do you have a boat?
Do I have a boat? I do.
You do?
Indeed.
Compound or?
Indeed. The compound. Indeed, Sheikh. I'm a novice. I've taken a few small lessons. I wish I could do more. I wish I could learn more because it's so beneficial spiritually, let alone physically, mentally, etc. But obviously, like any other art, it takes time. You got to devote time to it. You can't just do it when you want to do it. You got to devote time to it. And even many of the brothers, alhamdulillah, who do practice archery, whether some of the old heads in this masjid or in other masjids, hunting or whatever else, whatever reason why they're practicing archery, let alone non-Muslim classes, the time is demanding. Okay, if you went to a center, or if you sought a tutor, you have to be dedicated to it. And you can't just, do what you want to do. I'm busy, I'm tired, I got a headache. If you want to do it, you're going to do it. You see what I'm saying to you? Khairan, inshallah. As far as the second announcement, then alhamdulillah, it's a small booklet that we just printed and it's being published. And it's called Ramadan and Fasting. Ramadan and Fasting. It says, based on the comprehensive Ramadan workshop, Mufti Muhammad Ibn Munir. It's a small 20-page booklet, which is a summary or transcription of an intensive workshop and a comprehensive workshop that we did on fasting and on Ramadan about 2 years ago. And it's basically a metin in English. We have the metin in Arabic, a fiqh metin. It's a handbook in which there's no dalil, there's no khilaf, it's just points. Boom, boom, boom. So, alhamdulillah, when I wrote for the Hadith on Seeking Knowledge, which I consider to be a metin of Hadith, rare in English, we also write mutun in English. It's not an explanation. It's not the dalil, this ayah, this hadith. It's no ikhtilaf, this sheikh, but it's a simple basic curriculum, point by point, which is made to be decompressed and made to be extracted and expounded on and explained and the evidence and the proofs given. But this book is only nothing more than a metin, a small, quick, short, precise curriculum in which a person can use to read and benefit from. No confusing views or opinions. This scholar, that scholar, my head is spinning. Just do this. Or the concept of a summer school, Sunday school, a madrasa. An imam needs a quick preparation, a refresher, or whatever you want to think about. That's the purpose of this book. And I can say, alhamdulillah, the simple basic things are here, but there are many, many, many subtleties in this small book that you won't find in another place, in one place. You may find in 4 other books put together. All right? Let alone many modern day issues pertaining to fasting on Ramadan, which are in this book. Isharat. Not the detailed, in-depth explanation, but just the point. Getting your mind to be stimulated and to think about it. Inshallah. So, may Allah Azza wa Jalla reward the disciples and the disciples who put it together. Those who transcribed it. Those, obviously, first it was a PowerPoint presentation, then turned into a book. Those who funded the book, walillah. So the book here is for free. I have some copies with me. You brothers and sisters can take a copy tonight. Obviously, copies are limited. We'll try our best to give them out the best way we can. Anyone outside of the United States, or even in the United States, if the copies run out, you can feel free to email us. And inshallah ta'ala, you have the permission of reprinting it yourself for free. With the condition that obviously you don't change anything, you don't alter anything. Wherever you are, Michigan, UK, Australia, Kenya, wherever you are, if you email us in the proper contact, we will give you the PDF and you can print it for free with the condition of free distribution. Free distribution. It's a small, simple book. Alhamdulillah, like I said, Allah reward the brothers and the sisters who are a part of the book being published. Walillah alhamd, those who edited it, those who made the cover, those who funded it, etc. May Allah accept their good deeds. So, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, by Salat al-Isha. If you want a copy, I'll give you a copy for free. We'll also leave some for the masjid, leave some for Southside, and inshallah, hopefully, the next time I come, even if it's not a class, I'll try to drop some more because I don't have but so many copies now, inshallah. And those who are online and those who are abroad, if you want a copy of the book, I don't think that the copies are going to be enough, but you can reprint it and distribute it for free yourselves. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, wallahu a'lam. Khairan, inshallah. So, with regards to the life of Nawawi, why do we want to sit and talk about a man and talk about a scholar? Why are we studying the history of a man who died so many hundred years ago? Why? What's the purpose? What do we get from this? There are many benefits that we get from reading the biographies of the authors and of the scholars and the people that we learn from. From those fawaid is inspiration. Inspiration is to be inspired by reading about those people. And this should be one of the most important things. And this should be at the forefront of your intention of reading about someone's life who died hundreds of years ago. What can I get from it? How can it inspire me to be a better Muslim, to be a better student of knowledge, to be a better scholar, to be a better Imam, to be a better reader? How can I be more diligent myself? How can I apply these things more in my personal life? Secondly is, we can relate more. The more examples you have, inshallah, perhaps it's easier for you to do it. You realize how many people studied, learned, and reached greatness and benefited the people and left a legacy. So if this is a person, he's a person, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, and inshallah, maybe I can be the seventh. And if not, maybe my children. And if not my children, maybe my little brother, or maybe I can help someone else who's striving to leave some type of legacy of benefit for the Muslims. Thirdly is knowing who we take our religion from. Extremely important. Who you take your deen from. Who is your teacher? You wouldn't go to a hospital that had no type of reputable name, no type of qualifications. Someone who just put on a white jacket and says, here, I have a scalpel, sit down. I'm going to slice your stomach open. I'm going to cut open your belly. You wouldn't allow that unless you were a total madman. There has to be some qualifications of the doctor. And if you don't know the doctor specifically, then you know the hospital, the name of the hospital. There has to be something that makes this establishment have the ability to perform medicine upon people. And the same applies to a mechanic. The same applies to a chef, a cook. The same applies to any other type of dealing or interaction that you have. You need to know something about that person. And if you don't know too much about them, then at least know about their establishment. So who was the person that wrote this book? Why are we reading his book? What did he write in his book? What type of scholar was he? What type of qualifications did he have to write and to leave something for us to study and to memorize and explain it, so on and so forth? All right. Last but not least is the concept of comparing yourself to the people of the past, what they had to go through, what they went through, some of their struggles, some of the hardships, some of the difficulties that they had to overcome with regards to living as Muslims and with regards to writing books and leaving behind beneficial knowledge. And we all know what many of the pious predecessors used to say, ilm rajul waladuhu al-mukhallad. They say that knowledge is a man's immortal son. Knowledge is a man's immortal son. Your bloodline never ever will become extinct if you wrote a book. You'll never ever be fully abandoned and forgotten if you write one book, let alone two books, let alone you write some beneficial books for the Muslims. Okay? So oftentimes when you read these stories, you realize that it's not that simple and easy. This illustrious scholar, he suffered. He was beaten, whipped. He was locked up. They accused him of this. They made scandal. They made controversy. He was killed. He lost his life. Many, many things, all right? We have friends in our class in the Islamic University of Medina that came from the ex-USSR nations, whether they call them White Russia or Uzbekistan or Nordistan or Turkmenistan, or whatever, on the different stands. They used to be a part of the USSR. And wallahi, they would sit and they would tell us different stories when back in the day, the Soviets would come into their countries and they would line up all of the ulama of the village or the town and kill all of them. Shoot them right dead in the street. No one in this village can have knowledge. They have to be dead, killed. All right? They lost their lives because of ilm, because of knowledge. And I don't think, and Allah knows best, I wasn't there, but I don't think, I highly doubt that each and every one of them tried to hide. I'm sure there was some of them who said, yes, I'm the Imam of this village. I'm the Mufti of this village. You want to kill me? Do it now. I'm sure some of them were brave and accepted the fitna that Allah had put them through. And not hide and, oh, let me go shave my beard and let me go hide like I'm just a normal basket weaver. No. They accepted it. So many people of knowledge of the past, they suffered. They struggled. They went through many, many trials and tribulations to get the knowledge and to teach the knowledge and to write about the knowledge. And we should read these things for us to reflect and compare ourselves. How much have I suffered and struggled for ilm? I can't even come to a class in another state or another country or another masjid. People complain, it's too late, the class is too late, the class is too far, or I can't afford to take off work, or I have school, I have keda. And this Imam walked from one country to the next on his feet. This person walked so much without any shoes or sandals, he says, I urinated blood twice. It was once it was so cold I had no shoes, and another time it was so hot I had no shoes, it caused me to urinate nothing but blood. Could you imagine that? Not a little bit of blood in your urine, but you filling the toilet bowl with blood. Okay? So he had sacrifice. So oftentimes we don't realize these things, and we think that knowledge is simple and easy, and it's just a piece of cake, and oh, mashallah, and that's it. But we don't realize that scholars went through things. They suffered. And also, with regards to the modern day phenomenon of people who haven't studied, or they come to people who haven't went overseas, they haven't done anything, they haven't suffered anything, and they have the loudest mouths and talk about the people who have went overseas and studied. That's something which is just appalling. Forget the fact of knowledge, right, wrong, but the sheer fact you have no stripes. You don't know what it's like. It's like if you had a dojo and you had the senior students and you have a new guy who he comes into the classroom and he starts talking about this and this is how you do it and so on. Did the teacher beat you? Did you have to do those push-ups on your knuckles? Did you have to run up and down the steps with those phone books and water bottles? You don't even know the pain that we had to go through just to be on this level, whether it's a color of a belt or any other type of system of students. Forget what you know, if you can fight or not. But the sheer fact you don't know what it feels like to have your bones cracked, to wake up sore like someone beat you with a bag of bricks, and then you come in and tell that's wrong, do this, so on and so forth. So this is very dangerous, and it's a widespread phenomenon of people who've never traveled, they've never studied, they've never had any discomfort, but oftentimes you find them who are the greatest masters of ilm and having the least amount of respect for those who have done that. And it's a wisdom behind that. One of our teachers in Islamic University of Medina, he was quoting from another scholar who had passed away. It was Dr. Sheikh Abdul Razak, quoting from Sheikh Bakr Abu Zaid and others. So they had a student once who wrote a book, and he didn't use any books. He just used the computer software, internet research, etc. And he came with this wonderful thick book, and he was bragging and boasting, my book has this in it, my book has that in it, my book has no one else has found, so on and so forth. And he asked him, what did you do? He says, I used the computer, I used the thing. So he said that one of the doctors that was critiquing the book, he says about the computers, he said, إن هذه الأجهزة تجرئ المبتدئ وتقطع المنتهي. He says that these devices, these contraptions, these computers, this technology, تجرئ المبتدئ, it gives the beginner the nerve and audacity. وتقطع المنتهي, and it ruins and causes a great deal of sadness to the one who was already a established scholar. Meaning the one who was in the library for years, getting blisters and splinters, sitting down at the table until his elbows ached and his bottom ached, okay? Researching, inhaling dust, going from library to library, paying for copies of books, manuscripts, traveling to different countries for manuscripts just to find a hadith, just to get this and put it in his book. When he sees that a person did bigger and better, quicker with the machine, it just ruins his whole spirit. And most importantly, he says, Tujari'ul muntahi, the mubtadi, the beginner, he now feels the nerve and the audacity to speak and to talk because he has not tasted what? The suffering of studying. So he thinks it's easy and he has no respect. And this is a universal principle. Anyone who's never been to jail, he finds it easy to talk about people that went to jail. Oh, you went to jail, you're a criminal, you're a jailbird, you became Muslim in jail. You've never been to jail. You don't know what it's like in jail. You have no clue what it's like in jail. How can you relate to being in jail? If you were there in one day, huh? Let alone 10 years or 5 years or 3 years, maybe you would have a little more humility and respect for Muslims who made it out of jail and are practicing Islam today, because you can't relate. You've never had any type of suffering or hardship, and it applies to any other concept of life. So with that being said, these are some of the reasons why we want to read the biography of An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala. The source that I'm going to read today, or read from today, alhamdulillah, is Wikipedia in Arabic. And Wikipedia, walillah alhamd, is not a perfect source, but it is a very beneficial source. And I myself have checked, cross-referenced many articles and things on different topics on Wikipedia, and it's pretty much accurate. Rather, you'll be shocked of some of the information that you'll find on Wikipedia that you won't find in other books, which is clearly is the citation is there. The references, the sources are cited. You'll be shocked at some of the information you'll find and the accuracy of some of the information, and you'll be shocked at some of the articles that you'll find on Wikipedia that you can't find on other sites, English or in Arabic. Khair inshallah, Allah knows best. So therefore it says here, Abu Zakaria Yahya ibn Sharaf al-Hizami al-Nawawi al-Shafi'i المشهور باسم النووي هو محدث وفقيه ولغوي مسلم وهو أحد أبرز فقهاء الشافعية اشتهر بكتبه وتصانيفه العديدة في الفقه والحديث واللغة والتراجم كرياض الصالحين والأربعين النووي ومنهج الطالبين والروضة ويوصف بأنه محرر المذهب الشافعي ومهذبه ومنقحه ومرتبه حيث استقر العمل بين فقهاء الشافعية على ما يرجح النووي ويلقب النووي بشيخ الشافعية فإذا أطلق لفظ الشيخين عند الشافعية أريد بهما النووي وأبو القاسم الرافعي القزويني. So I'll give you the summary of who he is, the summary of Nawawi. And we're reading it in Arabic, even though everyone doesn't speak Arabic, for those who are online who do speak Arabic and want the benefit. Al-Nawawi, he is Abu Zakaria. That's his kunya. How many of us don't have kunyas? Or have kunyas, but we're unknown by those kunyas. An abandoned sunnah. An abandoned sunnah is to be known by your kunya and to call your brother or your sister by their kunya. Fulan, Abu Fulan. It's the sunnah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. So his kunya was Abu Zakaria. His first name was Yahya. His name is not Nawawi, that's a nickname. But his actual first name was Yahya. And his father's name was Sharaf. Yahya, the son of Sharaf. Al-Hizami, Al-Nawawi, Al-Shafi'i. And then we have three things here. We have first and foremost what we know as a nisbah. What he's ascribed to or what he's affiliated to. His family, tribe, his clan, the country in which he grew up, his madhab, etc. Everyone understand that? So a person can have three of these things at the end of his name. He's from Philadelphia. This was the part of Philadelphia he was from, and this was the family that he came from. Mathalan. So Al-Hizami could be his clan or his tribe. Family ancestry. And then it says An-Nawawi has nothing to do with his blood. That's only location. Someone can have a nisbah of location. Al-Qahiri, Al-Asqalani, okay, Al-Baghdadi, Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi, right? That's not his blood. His family could come from somewhere else. But he lived there, he resided there, he died there, etc. And obviously his madhab. What was his school of thought with regards to studying and teaching fiqh? He was Shafi'i, a disciple of the Shafi'i school of thought. And it mentions his death, his birth and his death here in Arabic and in English. As far as Arabic, then it's 631. 631 of the Hijrah. So he was born in the first half of the 7th century. And it's very important to understand how he grew up. What was around him. His environment. Who influenced him. What was going on with the Muslims in the 7th century. Were they at war? Were their countries being invaded? Were they strong? Were they imitating non-Muslims? Were they under the rule of non-Muslims? All of these things have an influence upon a person, let alone, a person who's writing. Very important to understand where a person was born and when they were born. Someone who was born in the 60s in the United States. That's the time of the Civil Rights Movement. So a great influence on his thought, his movement is going to be the main things that were going on in the 60s. The Vietnam War, Civil Rights Movement, 60s and 70s. Everyone understands this? Heroin. All of the things that were going on. Presidents being assassinated, the Cold War, that has an effect upon one's thought and how he behaved as a person, let alone as a speaker, an activist, as a scholar. And this applies universally. So knowing where a person and when a person was born is critical for student of knowledge. And that is equivalent to 1233 of the Common Calendar, or the Common Era. 1233. He died in the year 676. 676. In the same century, the 7th century, which is equivalent to 1277. Meaning he was how old when he died? 44 or 34? 44. 631 to what?
45.
Huh. Let's start again. He says here 630 when he was born, and it said that he died what?
676.
676. So that would equivalent in what? 45. So he was well known as Nawawi. That was his nickname. Muhaddithun. He was a scholar of Hadith. Hadith scholar. Or faqihun. And he was a jurist, a scholar of fiqh, of halal and haram. Wa lughawiyun. And he was a linguist. He specialized in the Arabic language as well. Muslim. A Muslim. And one of the most important concepts of any encyclopedia that you're using, whether it's an encyclopedia I was just reading in Britannica or online encyclopedia, is that it's supposed to be impartial. It's not supposed to be leaning towards religion, creed, faith. It's supposed to be an outlet of information, like journalism. The journalist, the reporter, is not supposed to involve his opinion or feeling. Everyone understand this? And when you read different books that talk about different things that happen in the 20th or 21st century, you'll be shocked some of the things that you'll find. And you'll be shocked that some of the books, which are considered to be the main authorities on a topic, the author was extremely biased and partial. Okay? How can you write a book in which you're talking about Germany, Nazi Germany, and the Third Reich, and you say, I think that Germans are ugly? That's what the author said. I personally feel and think that most German people are ugly. So what is the quality and the validity of what he's going to write about these people? And that's what he thinks about them. So journalism and these things is supposed to be what? Transparent. Whether you like it or not, you're supposed to present the information as it is. Moving forward, he was one of the greatest Shafi'i scholars. And he became well known by the many books that he wrote. He wrote books on fiqh, hadith, Arabic language, biographies, such as Riyadh Salihin, such as 40 Hadith, such as Minhaj al-Talibin, and such as Ar-Rawda. He is considered to be the not the founding father, but he's considered to be one of the greatest contributors to the Shafi'i madhab. He's supposed to be the one who got all the loose ends together. He's the one who did all of the final editing and trimming and presented it in the perfect polished product. Things were scattered. There was a great deal of difference, discrepancy. He took all of those things and he molded into a polished product. The muharrir of the madhab Shafi'i. And all of those who came after him, they all ate from his table spread. And he was the trailblazer of all of those works after he went away and after he passed. That was his status in the Shafi'i madhab. Tayyib. Whereas the Shafi'is, they say, Rajjahahu al-Nawawi. What did the Shafi'i say or not on this issue? What did the disciples of Shafi'i? Nawawi said this is what it was? That's what it was. That's how strong he was in his school of thought. And he was also called one of the two main scholars of the Shafi'i method. Moving forward. ولد النووي في نوى سنة 31 و600 للهجرة ولما بلغ 10 سنين جعله أبوه في دكان فجعل لا يشتغل بالبيع والشراء عن تعلم القرآن الكريم وحفظه حتى ختم القرآن وقد قارب البلوغ ومكث في بلده نوى حتى بلغ 18 من عمره ثم ارتحل إلى دمشق. قدم النووي دمشق سنة 49 و600 للهجرة فلازم مفتي الشام عبد الرحمن بن إبراهيم الفزاري وتعلم منه. وبقي النووي في دمشق نحو من 28 سنة أمضاها كلها في بيت صغير في المدرسة الرواحية يتعلم ويعلم ويؤلف الكتب وتولى رئاسة دار الحديث الأشرفية إلى آخر كلامه. He talks about the brief upbringing of Nawawi, how he started studying the Quran, so on and so forth. Now, There's an interesting story that I read on another site. You'll find in other sources that some people say that when Noe was a child, he never would play. He was a very serious kid. He didn't laugh, he didn't joke, and oftentimes as if other kids would try to like bully him and force him to play around with him. But he never wanted to play like that, even when he was a young boy. And they say that there was a man, a knowledgeable person, a learned person who saw him and observed his behavior. And they said that he went to his father and he told his father, your son is going to be something special. He has the potential to be a great scholar. Rather, he will be a great scholar, inshallah. Protect him, look after him, and don't allow him to be like the rest of the kids. Don't allow him to play around and just be an average child. And some people say, Allahu Alam, the source of this, but they say that his father asked him, are you a soothsayer? Are you some type of tarot card reader? What are you, a gypsy? Or are you predicting the future? What do you mean? And he told him, he says, I'm not a soothsayer. I'm not practicing divination or anything, but I can see it. And his father took the advice of that man and kept him safe and protected him from playing around. And obviously, that had an effect on him being a great scholar at such a young age. For him to have reached such a tremendous status, and he died when he was only 45. That's young. 45 is still considered to be young. So you have some people who lived 70 and 80 who didn't reach 1/10 of what he achieved. And that was only done because he started what? At a young age. And this is something that applies to our daily lives. We tell the young brothers to start early. Start seeking knowledge now. Go overseas now. Give classes, write books. Involve yourself. You don't have to be perfect. No one's perfect. People make mistakes. People have shortcomings. Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar rahimahullah, the Imam of the Muhaddithin of his time. How many books he wrote? Yet still he said I was only pleased with 4 or 5 books. Some of the best works. He says I was only pleased with a handful of my books. Some of the best books that he wrote, he says I wrote them in the beginning of my studies. I wasn't pleased with them that much. So you have to start early in order to give yourself time to make mistakes, to give yourself time to learn and to perfect your craft. No one is born an alim. No one is born a scholar. But you have to try and you have to give effort. And obviously if you can start younger, then inshallah the better. Because you give yourself time to bloom and to blossom and to develop. Instead of studying when you're older, doing classes when you're older, you come back from Medina to your country, the people are expecting a finished product. And you're coming back from Medina 7 years, 8 years, you're coming back from Pakistan or North Africa, wherever you studied at. And you're just getting back to your country and you're practicing your khutbahs on them. So it don't make sense now. How they're expecting a sheikh to come back. And you come back to them saying, I'm just getting started. It's not going to work. You have to start a bit early in order to give yourself time to develop. Khairan inshallah. Moving forward. It says here, we have some illustrations with regards to where Noah was, this village in Syria. Okay. هو أبو زكريا يحيى بن الشيخ أبي يحيى شرف ابن مري ابن حسن ابن حسين ابن محمد ابن جمعة ابن حزام الحزامي النووي. كان هناك من يزعم أن نسبة الحزامي إلى الصحابي حزام بن خويلد وقد صح ذلك النووي نفسه فقد ذكر أن بعض أجداده كان يزعم أنها نسبة إلى حزام أبي حكيم الصحابي قال هو غلط. Some people say that he was attributed to some of the companions, some of his ancestors or Sahaba. Some of them they hold that view. Khairan inshallah. As far as his laqab, the name that came before Abu Zakaria, then is Muhyiddin. Muhyiddin, the reviver of the religion. And many great scholars during that time, they had these names. Shamsuddin, Shihabuddin, Alauddin. You understand this? These types of names before their actual names. Khairan inshallah. Then we have, it says here that he was very, moving forward. He talks about his father, Amma Abu for Sharaf ibn Murri, كان دكانيا بنوى. كان دكان يبيع فيها ويشتري ووصفه تلميذ النووي علاء الدين بن مطر قوله الشيخ زاهد الورع ولي الله. They said that his father was very pious. And his father was a shopkeeper. His father wasn't some type of special scholar, but he was a normal shopkeeper. And that's very important. Is that nobility is with taqwa. And nobility is with knowledge that is acted upon. Just because you have a noble father or noble mother or noble family, it doesn't mean that you're going to be noble yourself. Just because your father's a scholar doesn't mean that you're going to be a scholar of the son. You have to earn that knowledge. You have to earn it. You have to study yourself, and you have to make your own mark. So An-Nawawi came from a shopkeeper, humble stock, nothing special, and he was great. So it's a very important lesson for us today. Do not rely upon genealogy. For or against. For you or against you. Just because you come from a humble background doesn't mean that you can't be something great. Just because you come from a great background doesn't mean that you won't be humble. Everyone understand this? And this is extremely important for African Americans, quote unquote, Black Americans in the United States and other places as well. But we're talking about our country. People who have the concept of negative or the inferiority complex or the stigma, I can't be nothing great because I'm black or because I'm a descendant of a slave. So therefore I have to be this and I can't be that. And the scholars are only this, only that. That's not true. That's not true. Some of the greatest minds were slaves, such as Aesop. He was a Greek slave. How many of those noble people whose lives or whose names have survived time to this day? But everyone talks about Aesop and his fables full of wisdom. And he was a slave. Okay, let alone the Muslims. So just because you come from a humble background doesn't mean you can't be great. And just because you come from a great background does not mean that Allah will not humble you. They say that Allah, that his father was very pious and he was very righteous. They said he was a kana shaykhan mubarakan. He was a blessed old man. They say blessed person. So that means something. Moving forward. Khairan inshallah. Let's move forward to the third page. مولده ونشأته ولد الإمام النووي في نوى في العشر الأوسط من المحرم وقيل في طيب. Some people say that he was born in the month of Muharram, in the first 10 days of Muharram. First 10 days, or some say in the middle of Muharram. Muharram is a special month, the month of Allah. Moving forward, وعاش في كان في أبيه ورعايته وكان أبوه في دنياه مستور الحال مباركا له في رزقه فنشأ النووي في ستر وخير وبقي يتعيش في الدكان أبيه مدة كما يقول الذهبي. ولما بلغ النووي من العمر 7 سنين كان نائما ليلة 27 من رمضان بجانب والده فانتبه نحو نصف الليل يقول والده وأيقظني قال يا أبتي ما هذا الضوء الذي قد ملأ الدار فاستيقظ أهله جميعا فلم إلى آخره. طيب, moving forward, they give different stories, talk about how he lived comfortably. He didn't have to worry about working. He didn't have to worry about begging for money. His father took care of him. His father provided him. The shop that his father had gave him the ability to study and to free himself. And that's extremely important. To study, you need money. To study, you need to be funded. You need to be funded. All right? So if you plan on going overseas, you don't have to be rich, but save some money up. If you can't stay for a year, go for 6 months. Go for 5 months. Come back and work, then go back. If you have a son, you have to provide for him. If you have a daughter, provide for her. If you have a brother in your community, it's upon the community to provide for him, to take care of him, because he's going to benefit everyone when he comes back with the knowledge. Knowledge does not come for free, and it's very appalling and atrocious. Many masjids you go to, and the people, they expect the imam or the qari or the person, the resident scholar, to just be a total zahid, to have nothing. To have nothing. But they want knowledge and benefit. The Quran. I have to call you at 3 in the morning. Me and my wife are getting into a major argument, a fist fight. I said if she's divorced or not. Let's call the imam. Let's wake him up. It's unfortunate. The people, they have this thought, but it comes to the dunya, they be willing to spend anything on anything and waste their money, but not on that which benefits their soul. So that's unfortunate. So that's a lesson that we should all take from that. You cannot be afraid to spend your money. If you're overseas and you're worried about money, you can't buy books, you can't do this, then you're not going to go that far. Until poverty, hunger, and all these things leave your mind. That's when you're in the beginning of getting the knowledge. When you're not worrying about it no more. Bismillah. And only Allah knows the many nights in Medina which we starved. And I'm not saying this to brag or to praise myself. I'm just saying it's keeping it real. Allah knows the times in which we had no food, but we were happy because we had books to read. And we could benefit, we could learn and sit with those mashayikh there. Khairan inshaAllah. ولما بلغ النووي 10 سنين جعله أبوه في الدكان فجعل لا يشتغل بالبيع والشراء. طيب, when he was 10, he started studying the Quran, and he stopped working in the shop. Now they're talking about Nawawi's studies. We're summarizing this as well, summarizing the article. قدم النووي دمشق سنة 49 و600 للهجرة إذ قدم به والده أبو يحيى وعمره 18 سنة، وكانت مدينة دمشق محج العلماء وطلبة العلم من أقطار العالم الإسلامي، وما كان يرى أنه يمكن أن يستكمل عالم علمه ما لم يؤمي إحدى عواصم العالم الإسلامي، وقمر هذه العواصم حينئذ دمشق. He says here that Nawawi traveled to Damascus in the year 649. How old was he? 18. That's when he went to Damascus. His father took him to Damascus. And Damascus at that time was one of the main centers of knowledge. It was a place in which you had to go. You were no one if you didn't go to Damascus and study in Damascus and take some type of knowledge from Damascus. Tayyib. Some people say that Damascus was the qamar, the moon, of the Islamic galaxy at that time. Like we have Mecca, you have Baghdad, so on and so forth. Landmark in which you have to go and taste the waters, sample the waters, take the ilm from that city. كان أول ما اهتم النووي به بعد أن بلغ دمشق أن يصل حبله بأحد العلماء يلازمه ويقرأ عليه ثم أن يجد له مأوى، ويظهر أن أول ما قصده عند دخوله دمشق جامعه الكبير، وكذلك كان عادة الغرباء. He says here with regards to going to the masjid, sleeping in the masjid, looking for the mashayikh and finding a place to stay. It says here أقام النووي في دمشق نحو من 28 سنة. He stayed in Damascus for over 28 years. Right? طيب, and he only left when he went to go make Hajj. So he stayed in Damascus. He found comfort there, and that's where he stayed. Moving forward, summarizing the article, this is extensive. It talks about how serious he was as a student of knowledge. How he was a serious student of knowledge. Tayyib, and how he used to fall asleep on his books. Some people said that he wouldn't sleep in a bed, that he would only sleep at his desk, and he would only fall asleep with his head in his books. Khairan, inshallah, that's a lesson for all of us, students of knowledge, to be diligent. Tayyib, his madhab, we mentioned that already, he was Shafi'i, rahimahullah. The books that he wrote, we mentioned those in brief as well. A very important part of Nawawi's life, and also controversial, is his aqidah. What was Nawawi? What was his aqidah like? The Katib, he says, كان النووي كغالبية علماء الشافعية يعتقد بعقيدة الأشاعرة من أهل السنة والجماعة، إذ إن كتابه شرح صحيح مسلم فيه الكثير من العقائد على أصول السنة الأشاعرة، وقد صرح اليافعي وتاج الدين السبكي أنه أشعري، وقال الذهبي في تاريخه إن مذهبه في الصفات السمعية السكوت وإمرارها كما جاءت، وربما تأول قليلا في شرح مسلم كذا، قال والتأويل كثير في كلامه، وللإمام النووي مؤلف في التوحيد وهي رسالة سماها المقاصد. The author of this article, he says that Nawawi was Ash'ari. He was an Ash'ari. He doesn't say that he was influenced with the Ash'ari Aqidah. They say that he was an Ash'ari. And he says, the author, he says, that Nawawi was no different than most of the ulama of the Shafi'i madhab of that century and of that time. Those who had Shafi'i fiqh, they were either Hadith scholars or fiqh scholars, and they had the Ash'ari Aqidah. Now, we're not here to discuss Aqidah in detail, but I will mention a few brief points and a few tanbihat, notes, inshallah. Note number one is that the Aqidah of those who are called Ash'ira is a general term, and there are specifics. We have different schools of the Ash'ira. The old school is not like the new school. Even though the old school, they had misguidance with them and mistakes in their Aqidah, but they were far closer to the pure organic creed of Ahlul Hadith, Ahlul Sunnah, than those who came later on. That's point number one. Okay, let alone there are things of which they differ on, things of which they agree on. But in general, what's known as the Ash'ari Aqidah is not the orthodox aqidah of al-Islam. It is not the correct, pure creed of the deen of al-Islam. What's the proof for that? What Ibn Taymiyyah said and wrote about? What Ibn al-Qayyim said and wrote about? What they teach in Saudi Arabia? No. The dalil is history. History. Factual information. The Imam, the author, or the founder of that madhab, Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari, rahimahullah ta'ala, read his life story. And you'll see the different stages and phases that he went through. And how he's with the Mu'tazila. And how he's with this group and that group. For many, many years out of his life. And some even say that he came from a household of Sunnah. Some say that he came from a Bayt of Ahl Sunnah. And he had Hadith in his family, in his blood, but he chose other things. And Abu al-Hasan, rahimahullah ta'ala, Allah have mercy upon him, when towards the end of his life, he recanted many things. And he took back many things that he said. And he came close to the pure aqidah. But some scholars, they say, Lam yuharrir madhab al-salaf. Is that he left off all of that stuff, but he didn't have enough time. It wasn't meant for him to get it down pat precisely what it was. So, as if they're saying, he generally freed himself from those aqaid kalamiyah. Whether it's the Mu'tazila, the usul of the Mu'tazila, the school called the Mu'tazila. You read about this in history. The Kullabiyah. Okay, you read about those groups and how to mix different philosophical things, talking about Allah and His names and His attributes and hereafter and the unseen and Iman, etc. Qadr. So they say that he left most of that stuff off. But he didn't have enough time to really learn it properly, what the madhab of the Salaf was concerning Allah's attributes. And this is one of the reasons why there is the confusion. And from Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari, his disciples, his followers, they branched off even more. And spread out even more and leaned towards kalam and ilm al-kalam even more. Everyone understand this? So, and that's how we have Ash'ari Aqidah today. One of the most widespread Aqidahs in the Islamic world. Which, and I'm shy of standing in front of Allah and not saying this. It is not the orthodox creed about Islam. And the greatest proof for that is what I just said, history. The founder of the madhab himself took from different sources. The founder of the madhab himself lived in a time in which he was relatively confused. And towards the end of his life, he recanted, he retracted, and he freed himself from many of those mistakes, but he didn't have the ability to lock down what the early Muslims said about these things. And there was room for vagueness, and there was room for open interpretation, and from there sprang forth the Madrasat al-Ash'ariyah, the Ash'ari creed. And that's all we want to say about that right now. Point number 3 is, as many brothers have asked about and brought up this problem, how is it even permissible for us to study his book now if he had mistakes in his aqidah? And we hear day in and day out, and day in and day out, don't take from this person because he made a mistake. Don't learn from him because Sheikh Fulan want from him. Don't sit with this person because he has this issue, he has that problem, so on and so forth. So how do we harmonize between that and this? There are different ways. Some ways are correct and some ways are totally incorrect. Some people say, oh no, he died, so it's a difference. This person is alive today. But you're still reading his book. And the harshness and the violence that you show to Muslims and to people, scholars and students of knowledge for saying something wrong. Or maybe the person didn't say something wrong, but you, the criticizer, anta al-mukhti. You're wrong in the issue. Wal-haq ma'al muntaqad. And the truth is, well, the one who was being criticized. But regardless of the fact, right or wrong, al-muhim, regardless of the fact is that, why are you so extremely harsh upon a person who made a mistake in an issue of ijtihad or dawah or even aqidah, for argument's sake, but you accept the work of Nawawi and others. So some people, they say because he's dead is a difference. Others, they say, well, he's a great scholar, you're not a great scholar. Others, they say other things besides that, but at the end of the day, it's still a thorn to swallow. Because you're so harsh and extreme against anyone who's against exactly what you say, but you clearly accept Nawawi. And it's factually mentioned, and Dhahabi says he made ta'wil. Even though Nawawi, rahimahullah, never really made ta'wil. But he would always quote from the scholars who came before him. And he wouldn't reject what they said. So the bottom line is there were many scholars besides Nawawi who had these issues. Many of them who had problems. Some of them had really messed up aqidah. Many problems. And yet their books fill the Islamic libraries. And they're taught in the Islamic University of Medina. What do you say with regards to the behavior of the people today? Obviously, it's going to be a problem. it's going to be a problem. Al-Muhim, we're not here to discuss these issues in detail. That's the amana. That was his aqidah according to what they say. And Allah knows best. Allah have mercy upon him and forgive him for any mistakes or whatever the case may be. But the correct aqidah of Islam is the kitab and the sunnah as it was understood by the Salaf al-Salih, the pure organic source. Qala Allah, qala Rasulullah, understood in the Arabic language without any additions or variations or preservatives. That is the correct aqidah of Islam. And alhamdulillah, we've done many classes on this. We wrote books on this, translated books on this, and done many classes explaining this in detail. And if you wanted one source, before we stop here for the adhan, then go back to the explanation of Kitab al-Iman from Al-Lu'lu wal-Marjan. Hundreds of hadiths we've explained, proving the correct aqidah of Ahlul Sunnah al-Hadith concerning Allah's names, His attributes, the Qadr, Sahaba, Iman, Quran, etc. etc. Everyone understand this? Between us and between you are these lectures, let alone books. And there are many of them on which we explain the correct aqidah about Islam and its importance. And Allah surely knows best. Jazakallah khairan.
The word you use, ta'wil, does that mean like interpretation? This is based upon what you talked about.
Clear. Right after the adhan, Shaykh. Inshallah. Jazakallah khairan.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
How much time do we have, Sheikh? How much time we have for the iqamah? Ta'wil basically means to explain how a thing will end. ما يقول إليه الشيء, the end of a thing, whether it is a word. This is what's meant. This is what's mentioned, the word, and it really means this. We have a paragraph. We have a statement. It was interpreted. So this was the beginning. And now this is the end of it. This is what was really meant by this statement, this word, or etc. That's what the concept of ta'wil means. And the word ta'wil is mentioned in the Quran in more than one place. And it's used with this meaning. Okay? Which we don't have time to explain right now, how it's used in the Quran. But it's the end. What will happen in the hereafter? What will happen in the hereafter? None but Allah knows His ta'wil. Illa Allah. وَالرَّاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ يَقُولُونَ. The word ta'wil, obviously if it's mentioned in the Quran, then it's not just going to have a total negative meaning. Okay? It's not a word like shirk or kufr or hawa. No, we're talking about it's used, Allah is mentioned in it. So the word ta'wil was used by some of the early scholars of Islam who were upon the correct creed. And what they meant by that was tafsir, a tawdih. Al-qawlu fi ta'wili qawlihi ta'ala. Ibn Jarir uses it all of the time. Okay? And they didn't mean distortion and stripping the word or the sentence from its substance of the ayah. A tafsir of the ayah. As far as the ta'wil of the scholars who came later on, whether they were Ash'aris or other than Ash'aris, then what they mean is to take the word and to give it a meaning which was unknown, a meaning which is unorganic, or meaning which was known, but it can't be used in this instance. In this sentence like this, it can only mean one thing. It can only mean one thing. So it means that they use these different tools. When the Quran says, Yadullahi fawqa aydihim, Allah's hand is above their hand. Allah's hand is above their hands. And they say, for example, as an example, we just asked about the Sheikh, what's meant by Yadullah, the hand of Allah? Is it the power of Allah, the strength of Allah, the omnipotence of Allah, or is it something else? In the Arabic language, the word yad has many meanings. Sometimes it can mean power. Sometimes it can mean a favor. And it can mean other things. But how do the Arabs use that word? How did they use and understood the word yad when they use it in dual form? With my two hands. Is it figurative now? In which the hadith says that these people, I have created their entertainment with my own hand. When the people will say that Musa, Allah wrote the Torah for you with his own hand. Bima khalaqtu biyadayya. Allah says, what I have created with my hands. He said to Iblis, why didn't you make sujood? And most importantly, why? Why can't it be as Allah says? Why not? Except for the fact that you have made a comparison between Allah and between your hand, and then you interpreted it. Hand, Allah can't have a hand. It means power. So it's a huge problem here. And this is just nothing more than an example. But the whole concept of the Ash'ari Aqidah or Maturidi Aqidah, as I said before, is based off of historical context. Where they learned their madhabs from. Where they came up with their collage of Aqidah and then called it Ahl Sunnah. It's not the Aqidah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. But as an example which was requested, is that there lies no doubt. The word hand has different meanings in the Arabic language. But it doesn't mean anything else in this sentence except for hand. Because of this, it was mentioned in dual form. Because Allah is mentioning it as a special, unique feature. Who wasn't created in the universe by Allah's power? Who? Who was made by other than Allah's power? Who? Is this someone who was brought into existence and it wasn't through Allah's power? Of course not. So what virtue does Adam have for Allah to say, I've created you with my what? Two hands. Except that it means something different. Allah saying, I have directly made you, Adam. Iblis, prostrate yourself to him because I have created this one with my own two hands. So you can't make an interpretation here saying that it just means quwwah or ni'mah or qudra, because the Arabs, they don't talk like that. Allah will take the things and place them on his hand. The earth, the trees, all of these created beings. Then he would shake them up. And he would say, Ana al-Malik, I am the king. I am the king. Where are the kings of the dunya at? So all of these different these different pieces or types of context prove that there is nothing which is figurative here. And the same applies to the other attributes of Allah Azza wa Jal. Let alone the fact that why are you figuratively interpreting it unless you've compared Allah to his created beings first? Then you find the need to give it a different figurative meaning. Allah Azza wa Jal, does he exist? If you're Muslim, you're going to say yes. How does Allah exist? Does Allah exist like me and you? Or does he have an existence which is specific to his majesty and his greatness? Of course, he's going to say the latter. Then the same applies to Allah's names, and the same applies to his attributes. وَهَكَذَا. So therefore, at the end of the day, the word ta'wil has a good meaning. It has a positive meaning. And oftentimes it has a bad meaning and a negative meaning, depending on who's using the term. And as Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah and others have mentioned, ta'wil is of 4 different types. 3 to 4 different levels of ta'wil, of interpretation or putting something in its final place, what it really means and what's really going to happen. There's something which is known by all of the Muslims. There are things which are known by those who know the Arabic language. There are things that are known by those who have knowledge of the deen. And there are things which are only known by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one knows its ta'wil except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore this is a brief discussion, very, very, very brief, of what the word means, how it is used, what is right, and what is incorrect. We have explained this concept in greater depth and more detail in many other classes of what's meant by this word and the correct way of the organic Orthodox creed of Islam with regards to Allah's names and attributes. But the last thing that I want to say before we go on to the next question, or if it's pertaining to this question, is that a ta'wil is not an isolated issue. It's not something, what's the difference between those who follow the Aqidah of Ahl Hadith and those who follow Ash'ari or Maturidi? It's not just an issue of you guys say it's literal and we say it's figurative. No, it's far deeper than that. It's far deeper than that. And the asl is the foundation of that madhab. Where does it come from? And who were the people who influenced Abu Hashim al-Ash'ari? Who were they? Where did he get his thought process from? And if he left off that process of thinking, did he die with actually learning the detailed points of the creed of Ahl Hadith? That's the foundation. Where does the deen come from? Let alone aql. Intellect comes before text. Text, maybe. Aql, for sure. That's a core issue there. A core issue. And any other group in which has strayed from the correct path, you don't want to deal with the things that are just on the surface. Nor should you allow them to make you think that it's just something on the surface. It's just a difference of tomato. No. It's different than that. It's not just tomato. You say literal, we say figurative. It's much different than that. Let alone the fact that that's wrong as well. That's wrong as well. That's incorrect as well. هذا باختصار طبعا. تفضل شيخ.
So the brothers who teach and they say that that's like it's anthropomorphic to see Allah with a hand. When they say Laysa kamithlihi shay, they say things like that. And they talk the same way you talk, but in that way.
Clear.
How does the layman who hasn't studied, who hasn't been anywhere, how does he differentiate?
Clear.
Because their argument has the same vigor that your argument has, but the complete opposite.
Crystal clear. Crystal clear. Very good question, follow-up question. Specifically in this city and other cities as well. I know exactly what you're talking about. Those who argue in the same way, and they say it's anthropomorphism to say Allah has a hand, so on and so forth. Laysa kamithlihi shay, there's nothing like Allah, so on and so forth. We don't differ that Laysa kamithlihi shay. However, وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. Allah is the all-hearing, the all-seeing. So how does Allah hear and see now? That's anthropomorphic. I see only with an eye. You see only with a camera. How can Allah see? He has to have eyes, 2 eyes like me. How can Allah hear? He has to have 2 ears like me. No, you can't say that. Allah sees and hears in a way that suits His Majesty. And thus does He have mercy and love and istiwa and nuzul and all of the other attributes that you figuratively interpret. And if not, then you're being hypocritical now. إن القول في بعض الصفات كالقول في البعض الآخر. إن القول في الصفات كالقول في الذات. Talking about Allah's attributes is a branch of talking about Allah Himself. So how do you understand Allah's existence? What attributes do you affirm yourself? You say this sifat ma'ani. They're only figurative. No problem. I'm arguing with you right now. The only thing that I understand from the word basir and samir is this and that. Now what? That's anthropomorphism right there. Then what? No, you can't say that. Why not? Laysa kamithlihi shay. And the same applies to Allah's love and His mercy and His anger and His wrath. Laysa kamithlihi shay. Wa huwa as-sami'ul basir. So the Quran hasn't just negated similarities to Allah, but has also affirmed it. And why didn't the Prophet explain that? Not even one time. Not once did the Prophet explain it. And what did the Jewish man, when he went to Salman, say? لَقَدْ عَلَّمَكُمْ نَبِيُّكُمْ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَتَّى الْخِرَاءَ. He says, your Prophet has taught you everything, even how to relieve yourself and clean yourself. And Salman, he says, Ajal. Of course he did. He took pride in that. But the Prophet didn't tell us the real meanings of Allah's names and attributes. Not even once. Not even once did he say it's only figurative. And that statement is so foul and filthy, is he's saying that the whole Quran is outwardly kufr and misguidance. Because the Quran is full of Allah's names and attributes from cover to cover. So the whole Quran is apparently anthropomorphic. It's a huge, tremendous problem. And there's problem after problem after problem, all an incline, an upstream battle that they have to fight to prove their madhab, which is based off of many mistakes. And from those mistakes is taqdis al-ashkhas, is making people holy and sacred. And it's no way that he could have been wrong. It's no way that he was mistaken. So if you can get past that point, then perhaps we can sit and we can argue. Does Allah exist? Is Allah al-hayyul qayyum? When was Allah born? When will He die? How can something live forever? Who gave birth to Allah? These are questions that you want to answer because of things that we see. What do you mean Allah lives without no death? No one, let me live, let me know. What does that mean? How is that? So I don't affirm that because it's anthropomorphic. Then what he's going to say? He's going to say, no, Allah's life is different. Allah's human beings, of course there's no comparison. Hands of humans different. Your hand like my hand? Of course not. Your hand is bigger, it's stronger. The hand of an elephant is not like the hand of an ant. It's different levels of hand. What do you think is the difference between Allah and a created being? وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى. Highest description. بِلَا بَصَرٍ. Allah hears, but with no hearing. Allah sees with no seeing. That's the way of the Mu'tazila. And the Ash'a'ira, as I've just said, Abu Hassan rahimahullah, he was a disciple of that way. And he abandoned that way. And the argument that they use against him is what? Allah's hearing and seeing is what? لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. Step number 3, the Orthodox Creed. Allah's hand, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. Allah's nuzul, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. Allah's love, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. Seeing Allah in the hereafter, what? لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. Just like you have used that argument against those people. So the madhab can never make sense. It's of double standard and it's of hypocrisy. The same principles that they use, we use against them. You affirm an attribute of Allah and you say it's Sifat al-Ma'ani, and I attribute an attribute of Allah. Why? Because Aql proves that Allah knows. And Aql also proves that Allah is above. If you think about it. Aql proves, one's mind proves that Allah hates and loves. This one was destroyed and this one was saved and protected. And the list goes on. The list goes on. So that is not a correct argument. That is not the creed of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And it has nothing to do with this scholar, that scholar. My point that I'm using right now is history. You have not read about Abu Hassan rahimahullah and what stages and phases he went through to come up with the conclusions that his followers said that he came up with. That's the proof, is that it wasn't from the divine source, the pure source. That's the dalil. And then from there we can branch off and we can argue and bring the proofs and bring the evidences. So therefore, to think about Allah being compared to his created beings, that's the first sin that they make. And they do that in their minds. Yadullah. Think about a human hand. So therefore it can't be what? Literal. It has to be figurative because laysa kamithlihi shay. They put an image of Allah in their heads first. Then they negate it. Then they figuratively interpret it. And then they blame those who are literalists as being anthropomorphic. It's not true. It's not true. That's incorrect. Obviously this is in brief. There are places, there are books and there are lectures in which these things have been explained to what? In detail. The last thing that I'll say, and I'm going to say it regardless of those who like it or not, anyone who says that Allah's attributes are figurative and you can't say this and you have to say it like this and it's anthropomorphic, they are misguided. That's dalala. That's misguidance. And it's not the way of the Prophet, of the Sahaba, or the early Muslims of Islam. That's not the pure creed of Al-Islam. It's not the way of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And Allah knows best. We want to stop here, whereas I believe it's time for the adhan or the iqamah. Jazakumullahu khairan. Sallallahu sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyina wa imamina Muhammad.